What's going on YouTube? This is Mark again with Waist Deep Wade Fishing, Southwest Florida. How is everyone doing out there in YouTube land? Just wanted to say thank you to everyone. We're already up to over 1,000 views. I'm ecstatic. I'm so happy that everyone is finding my content interesting and they keep tuning into it. And it isn't going to stop. I mean, this head is full of information, full of it. 20 years of inshore fishing for snook, redfish, sea trout, and tarpon. So I'm going to continue to bring out as much info as I can and bring what I can to the table. And please feel free to add anything you'd like below. Hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, send me an email if you've got any questions, because I probably have answers. So anyway, today we're going to discuss something that's very important to inshore fishing that a lot of people tend to not pay a lot of attention to. And it's something that I do on a regular basis before my outing. So basically what the show is about today is what does the tides, moon phases, and current coefficient, have to do with catching snook, redfish, and sea trout up on the grass flats. So, a lot of people are asking, well, what is a coefficient? A coefficient is the strength of the current that's going to be moving in and out. Well, we're going to get into further detail on that later on in this video. So I want to start off first with tides. I'm pretty sure everyone out there knows what a tide is, but I'll explain. A tide, that's the movement of water coming in and out of our estuaries. It pushes nutrients, bait fish, and salinity back and forth from the ocean to the shores, to the backcountry, the creeks, etc. Without them, okay, our waters and grass flats, they wouldn't exist. It would be a desert. There would be no life. So it's a very, very important aspect to inshore fishing. Tides, and I can't stress it more. Every time I speak about them, always check the tides. Base your trip upon the tides. Incoming, outgoing. And now I'm going to teach you a little bit more about the tide and what else to look for besides just when the tide's coming in and coming out. So jumping into the next aspect, moon phases. Now a lot of people know when they heard the old fisherman's tale, oh, if it's a full moon, it's going to be killer. Yeah, if you're fishing at night in a spot where there's not too much bait in the water, yeah, it's going to be killer. But other than that, the whole full moon fallacy, it's malarkey, okay? It's not true. I'm going to explain to you exactly what that full moon means. Now, through the month, through the monthly cycles, there's a lot of type of phases. There's full moon, half moon, quarter, crescent, etc. You can look them all up online. These all play factors on when the fish will feed. Now, to give you an example, the closer we get to the full moon, the more powerful the tide will be, aka flood tides. Those are going to be the strongest and most water coming in and out from the ocean for that month. Me personally, and this is just from experience, I've found that the best time to fish is between 3 and 5 days before the full moon, and 3 to 5 days after the full moon. Okay? Now, in that particular point of time, that's when the currents are going to be the most it's going to have the most strength. It's going to bring in the most nutrients. It's going to push out the most nutrients, because remember, what comes in must go out. So if the water comes in and washes into the mangroves, okay, and all those little baby crab and little baby shrimp, well, if that's a hard tide, they're not going to be able to swim against it. So what's going to happen is they're going to go in with the tide, and they're going to get swept back out. So now if there is a bottleneck or a point that I've discussed these things in my past videos, well, what's going to happen is all those little pieces of bait and all those, all those little crab, that's all going to get pushed out with the tide. And those fish are going to get a free meal. And that's why it's so important to watch tides when you're fishing, because those are going to be the times when the fish are going to feed. Okay? And that is when the most nutrients and salinity will be available. Okay? At those times, that's the best of the best. Okay? So you have to understand when you go by just what someone says, oh yeah, well, last week at this spot at 4 o'clock we killed them, and then we came back 2 days later at the same time and there was nothing there. What's going on? They were there at 4 o'clock the last time. It was the same tide. Actually, it wasn't. The tide may have been coming in, but that day at 4 o'clock, the coefficient might have been, I don't know, 70 to 75. And now when you went back there at that same time with the same weather conditions, well, that coefficient is only at 30. Well, what that means is it's lost 40% of its current. So the fish that were feeding there probably found a spot where the current was flowing harder and the bait was flowing faster. So it was an easier spot for them to feed. So that's why the moons and the coefficient and the phases of the moon are so important, just because of that. You could go somewhere in September and for a whole week, 3 to 5 days before that full moon, you can absolutely kill them. You can slam out every day. Boom, 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 boom. Then the full moon comes. Well, guess what happens on the full moon? When you're out on the water, there's not many trees, there's not many buildings. Okay, if it's a full moon and it's not cloudy, that's going to leave a lot of light on the water. Well, if you've ever been out on a boat at night, and if you ever fished a dock that has snook lights on them, you ever see what happens when there's snook lights in the water? Okay, all the bait comes to the light. Well, if all that little bait comes to the light, guess what's going to follow? The predators. So, if it's a full moon, okay, do not, and I repeat, do not go fishing the next morning after a full moon. Okay? Maybe later on in the day you can go out and towards the evening and give it a shot, but most likely those fish have been feeding all through the night on that full moon. Their bellies are full, they're lethargic, they're not going to go after bait. They're not interested in eating. They've been feeding through the night. So the last thing I want to explain to you about is current coefficient. And basically what that is the strength measured, okay, it's a charted scale from 10 up to as high as 120. Okay, lowest being 10, highest being 120. When fishing inshore, the ideal conditions, okay, the best coefficient I've learned in my past experiences are between 80 and 85 for the day, or 95 to 105 for the day. Those set of numbers right there, so just say between 80 and 105, are the best numbers that are out there for moving for current, okay, for the strength of current. Now, when it's at those numbers, Okay, the current is going to be at a steady flow throughout the day. Now, I'm not saying, you know, you can't catch fish when the coefficient is low, because I've caught fish when the coefficient was at 20. I'm not saying that. Still go out, enjoy your day, you know, do what you do, throw your lures, throw bait, you know, just do the things that I explained to you in my past videos, you know, follow those instructions. But what I'm trying to say is, if you want to have the most success, okay, you want to go out on the days where the weather conditions are good, a little overcast, coefficient between 80 and 105, 3 to 5 days before the full moon, 3 to 5 days after the full moon. That's going to be your best chances at the time at the time of the month, in that time of the month, because it only happens, you know, a couple of days during the month. Okay, those are going to be your best times. Those are going to be the times when you want to get out there. Okay, now, providing that the weather, you know, is in good, it's not pouring rain, and, you know, it's not blowing, you know, 35 miles per hour out there. But, okay, what we just talked about, okay, in this video is ideal conditions. Now, what you can do to find out when and where these conditions are going to be, I use Tides for Fishing. It's a free app, okay, it doesn't cost you anything. You just go on to Google, Tides, the number 4, fishing. Then you type in your area, you know, Fort Myers, Bonita, Cape Coral, wherever you're from. And it's going to give you everything that I just discussed. Tides, wind conditions, UV index, whether it's going to be cloudy, whether it's going to be clear, water temperature, current coefficient, tide when it's coming in, when it's coming out, what phase of the moon we're in. It's going to give you all that information, okay? And I use that like a Bible when I'm going out and planning my trips. So, that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope that you enjoyed everything that I brought to the table, and I hope you can use it on your next fishing, you know, outing, expedition, whatever it may be. But definitely look at those tides, use Tides for Fishing, use that information that I gave you, and I give you my word, okay, as a fellow flatsman, if you follow these instructions, you will catch more fish. All right, guys, well, my name is Mark. This is Waist Deep Wade Fishing, Southwest Florida. Please hit the subscribe button on the bottom. Like, share, comment, send me an email, whatever you'd like. Let's keep this thing going. I've got nothing but love for everyone out there. I want to thank everyone out there for all of the kind comments and all of the views. You know, again, we're over 1,000 already, so I'm ecstatic. Let's just keep this thing going, and I'm going to keep providing the best content I know how. So again, I'll see you on the water. Go ahead and get yourself a yellowmouth.